On a stormy Sunday morning, rain lashed relentlessly against the stained glass windows of the Tabernacle of Eternal Light. The grand hall, usually filled with calm worshippers, was vibrating with a peculiar tension. Outside, thunder growled ominously, but inside, the storm was one of whispers, sideways glances, and barely contained excitement. "She's coming, isn't she?" a man murmured nervously to his wife. "Yes, Mother Divine always keeps her promises," the woman replied, clutching her rosary tight. Mother Divine, or as her loyal followers called her, the Chosen Eye, was no ordinary prophetess. The title, the Chosen Eye, was whispered in reverence, a reference to the single, all-seeing vision she claimed to possess. Followers believed that through this divine eye, she could perceive not only the present but also the unseen realms of spirits and futures untold. It was said that no sin or secret could escape her gaze, cementing her as the vessel through which God's truth was revealed. She had come to be revered as a living oracle, a woman who could see through the veil between the earthly and the spiritual. Tales of her miracles traveled far beyond the city of Grey Springs, drawing pilgrims from all over. Some swore she had saved their lives. Others claimed she had spoken with angels. The storm outside howled louder as the heavy doors groaned open. Entering the hall was Irene, one of Mother Divine's devoted aides. She stumbled toward the altar, her movements unsteady as if a great weight pressed upon her shoulders. Her face was as pale as a ghost, her wide eyes sunken and darting as though she'd seen something unspeakable lurking in the storm. A tremor ran through her hands, clutching the folds of her robe like lifelines, as the room fell deathly silent in anticipation. "Praise the heavens!" she cried, her voice echoing through the cavernous room. "Mother Divine has done it again! She's healed another broken soul!" The congregation erupted in jubilant shouts and applause. People fell to their knees, some sobbing, others shouting prayers to the heavens. For most, this was further proof that Mother Divine was sent by God Himself. Yet, seated quietly in the back, a woman named Sarah watched the spectacle with growing unease. Sarah had been attending the church for months, ever since her sister Maria had fallen under the spell of Mother Divine's ministry. Sarah had come searching for answers, hoping to understand the spell that kept pulling her sister deeper into this movement. But what she saw made her stomach churn. The so-called healed man, the one who had supposedly been crippled, was now walking to the pulpit, tears streaming down his face. Yet, Sarah recognized him instantly. Days earlier, she had seen him at the marketplace, healthy and whole, carrying a basket of produce on his shoulders. It was all a lie, she realized. But who would dare challenge the woman everyone called the Chosen Eye? Mother Divine, born Patricia Okora, had not always been a figure of reverence. Her origins were humble, her story beginning in a small, dusty village nestled in the heart of the plains. Raised in a family of devout Christians, Patricia had been the pride of the community. She led Sunday school, sang in the choir, and was beloved for her gentle spirit. Her parents often said she was touched by God and destined for greatness. But destiny, as Patricia would learn, often came at a terrible cost. In her early 20s, Patricia moved to the bustling city of Grey Springs, hoping to start her own ministry. Her days were spent preaching to small crowds in parks, praying for strangers, and struggling to make ends meet. It was during this time that she met a man who would change her life forever, Pastor Jonah Cole. Pastor Jonah was a towering figure, his broad shoulders seeming to fill any room he entered. His presence was magnetic, an unspoken authority emanating from every deliberate movement. When he spoke, his voice rolled like distant thunder, reverberating through the bones of those who heard him, leaving them in equal parts awe and unease. He was a man of charisma and power, with a congregation of thousands. When he approached Patricia after one of her street sermons, she could hardly believe her luck. "You have potential, Sister Patricia," Jonah had said, his dark eyes locking onto hers. "But you'll never succeed on faith alone. True impact requires sacrifice." Over the next few weeks, Jonah invited Patricia into his inner circle, exposing her to his dark and secretive practices. He spoke of rituals, ceremonies that could grant wealth, influence, and power beyond comprehension. "Faith," is a tool, Patricia, he whispered to her one night in a dimly lit room lined with strange symbols. But tools are meaningless without power to wield them. Patricia resisted at first. The rituals were blasphemous, her soul recoiling at the very thought of participating. But with each passing day, her desperation grew. Her ministry was stagnant. Her peers mocked her. "You'll never be anyone," they said. And so, one fateful night, she succumbed. The ceremony took place deep in a forest under a blood red moon. Chanting voices surrounded her as Patricia stood at the center of a circle etched with symbols she didn't understand. Pastor Jonah handed her a blade, cold and sharp, and instructed her to make a sacrifice, her fertility. "This is the price for the power you seek," Jonah told her, his voice echoing in her ears. With shaking hands, Patricia completed the ritual, feeling something dark and ancient stir within her. The power that flooded her veins was unlike anything she had ever known. It was intoxicating, but it came at a cost. From that moment on, Patricia could never bear children. Her body was barren, her soul forever marked. When Patricia returned to Grey Springs, everything changed. Her sermons were no longer ignored. Crowds flocked to hear her speak. Her voice carried a strange authority that made even the most skeptical listener pause. People whispered that she could see into their hearts, that her prayers could summon miracles. Soon, Patricia became Mother Divine, the leader of the Tabernacle of Eternal Light. Her ministry exploded in popularity with worshippers traveling from every corner of the country to witness her gifts. Mother Divine promised healing, prosperity, and deliverance from spiritual bondage. Yet behind the scenes, Patricia's newfound power came with dark demands, whispers of midnight rituals, blood sacrifices, and sinister oaths to forces beyond mortal understanding. The gifts she wielded, it was said, carried a toll no human soul could bear alone. Each night, she was drawn to the river behind her mansion. At the stroke of midnight, she would transform, her human skin shedding like fragile paper to reveal a creature half woman, half serpent. She would slither into the black waters, her serpentine body shimmering under the moonlight. Beneath the river lay the domain of the Marine Queen, a being of immense power who ruled an underwater kingdom. There, Mother Divine would kneel in servitude, receiving visions, dark blessings, and the tools she needed to maintain her ministry. But these gifts came at a steep price. Patricia's soul was no longer her own. Mother Divine's ministry thrived on a carefully orchestrated illusion. Her congregation, desperate for miracles, became her willing pawns. She introduced objects like holy mirrors that she claimed could reveal hidden sins and spiritual flaws. "Look into these mirrors each morning," she told her followers, her voice soft but commanding. "Allow the Lord to purify your heart." Unbeknownst to them, the mirrors were occult tools that allowed Mother Divine to spy on their lives. She would summon their spirits at night, extracting secrets and weaknesses to exploit. Sarah, ever observant, began to piece together the truth. She noticed that Mother Divine's prophecies were often eerily specific, recounting private arguments and confessions that no one else should know. She watched as struggling families emptied their savings to buy bottles of blessed oil and holy water, all while Mother Divine's mansion grew grander by the day. Sarah's breaking point came when her sister Maria fell ill. Desperate, Maria spent everything she had on Mother Divine's so-called miracle remedies. But instead of getting better, she only grew weaker. Sarah knew she had to act. Sarah began investigating in secret, her mind racing with questions she couldn't ignore. Every shadow seemed to conceal a lurking danger, every creak of the floorboards sending chills down her spine. She thought of Maria's gaunt face, the hollow look in her sister's eyes, and resolved that no matter how terrifying the truth might be, she would uncover it. Doubts swelled up within her, but her determination burned brighter. This was for Maria, for the countless others who had placed their faith in Mother Divine's hands. Sarah clutched her journal tightly, scribbling her thoughts late into the night, her fingers trembling with equal parts fear and resolve. Late one night, she hid near the river behind Mother Divine's mansion. As the clock struck midnight, she watched in horror as Patricia emerged, her figure shimmering under the moonlight. Before Sarah's eyes, Mother Divine shed her human form, revealing scales that glistened like oil. A monstrous hiss escaped her lips as she slithered into the water, disappearing beneath its surface. Trembling, Sarah recorded the scene on her phone. The next morning, she confronted two of Mother Divine's closest aides, Peter and Lydia, who had been overheard mocking the congregation. "That holy water," Peter laughed, "is just tap water mixed with salt, and they paid thousands for it." Armed with evidence, Sarah reached out to a group of investigative journalists. Together, they exposed Mother Divine's midnight rituals, her fraudulent miracles, and her manipulation of the desperate and vulnerable. News spread like wildfire, and the ministry began to crumble. When the truth was revealed, chaos erupted. Worshippers stormed the tabernacle of eternal light, demanding answers. Mother Divine tried to flee, but there was no escape. The police arrived, arresting her for fraud and exploitation. As she was led away in handcuffs, her once loyal followers watched in silence. The woman they had called the Chosen Eye was gone, replaced by a broken figure who no longer inspired awe. Sarah stood in the crowd, a bittersweet sense of relief washing over her. She had exposed the darkness, but the damage Mother Divine had caused would take years to heal. In the months that followed, Sarah worked to help the victims of Mother Divine's schemes rebuild their lives. She knew that faith itself was not the enemy, it was those who twisted it for their own gain. And though the road ahead was long, she believed that light would always triumph over darkness. The river behind Mother Divine's mansion remained still and silent, its secrets buried forever beneath the surface. But the echoes of her story served as a warning. Not all who claim to be divine are truly sent by God. When faith is used as a tool to exploit the vulnerable, it causes harm, highlighting the need for accountability in religious leadership. The story teaches viewers to remain vigilant, to seek truth over spectacle, and to stand up for what is right, even in the face of fear. It highlights the importance of discernment and critical thinking when placing trust in spiritual or authoritative figures. Stay vigilant, stay true, and always remember, the light will always triumph over the darkness. Thank you for watching. See you in our next video.